Oh my god. Just to give you an idea of how absolutely prolific some of these reaction channels can be, in the last month or two alone with Asmongold TV here, this reaction channel for the streamer, he has over 57 mentions of Amber Heard, implying that there is over or close to 57 videos about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. Holy. Either way, everybody, welcome back. Today, if you couldn't imagine or hazard a guess as to what I'm going to talk about today, it's going to be about reaction channels. Wow. What a novel concept that certainly hasn't been done before by a lot of other people. But the thing is, I kind of want to talk about this because it's an interesting little situation that keeps cropping up on YouTube. Now, for those who haven't been around very long, at least on the YouTube side of things, reaction content has been kind of a staple for a very, very long time. And it actually usually comes in waves of criticism when it comes to this. So back, like, say, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that, there used to be these type of, like, booby reaction channels or sexually explicit reaction channels in which very scantily dressed women would sit there and just watch videos wholesale and then re-upload it. And there used to be a feature where you could actually have videos pinned below a video for people to then watch afterwards. And that way you could actually just kind of like sit there and rack up a bunch of views passively from another video. And that was one way that could actually be done. But then that got kind of clamped down on, they removed that feature, and those channels faded away. But then it came roaring back again with channels like It's Jinx, or whatever the devil they were called, in which they would again just wholesale react to a video, upload it to YouTube, while providing basically zero commentary, zero editing, and basically would just replay the whole video in its entirety, completely replacing the old video effectively, while doing essentially zero work. There was zero transformation being done, at least in the vast majority of these channels. And when that pressure started clamping down on them, they kind of transitioned away from reaction content, making their own content. That didn't go as well. They transitioned back into reaction content, but by then, the whole thing had just kind of faded away. And now, it's kind of roared back yet again. Although this time, it's actually a bit of a different situation, because not only does it happen on YouTube, it originally starts off on a website called Twitch. Now, if you're watching a video, especially on a small channel like mine, then you more than certainly know what Twitch is. So, really briefly, it's a live streaming channel, primarily, or rather I should say live streaming website, primarily known for people playing video games, reacting to it, playing with friends, things like that, and interacting with audiences, you know, things like that. But one of the quirks about Twitch is that it has very, very loose enforcement of DMCA law. Now, if you're not American, DMCA stands for the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And essentially that kind of whole thing kind of manages copyright on the internet and what actually can be used, how does it actually go about, what is fair use, and things like that. Now, on YouTube, they have very many tools to actually properly navigate DMCA. In fact, you probably heard plenty of people complaining about things like getting monetization taken away from a video or monetization being given to a third party instead of them because of some X, Y, or Z abuse where they claim 2 seconds as the whole video or some aspect like that. YouTube has very, very robust tools for implementing DMCA on this website, especially considering because they kind of need that for Section 230 protection. But that's a whole legal dispute that I can't even begin to touch because I'm not an attorney. But Twitch, on the other hand, has very, very, very lax enforcement when it comes to this. In fact, basically, you can restream entire movie series, TV series, anything on Twitch, and you basically will guarantee never get affected by it. I mean, there have been people who have reacted to essentially whole TV series of Japanese anime, or I've even heard about some instance of a guy just restreaming Morbius straight up for multiple hours and with no issue. I mean, it's a very common meta, especially considering that it's incredibly easy to do. You don't have to make anything. A lot of the time, the videos they watch are highly edited or handcrafted, so they tend to be very entertaining on their own right without any input from the streamer. So it's incredibly easy content to do, especially if you're streaming for 8-10 hours a day. So you kind of need something to fill the void other than just playing video games. But that's kind of the background. That's the history of this whole kerfuffle again. But the reason why there's renewed interest around this whole situation with reaction channels is kind of the effects it kind of has on the global or larger marketplace here. So let's go over that. So first things first, why is reaction content bad here? Well, first off, it's just lazy, no-effort content that essentially steals the original work. Now, Dark AU pointed this out essentially by saying that when you react to a video, you're not just reacting to a video and calling it good and not really doing anything beyond that. You're essentially taking the work of someone else who potentially spent hundreds of hours creating a video. I mean, believe me, there are some videos where legitimately, when they're doing sketches, when they're doing animation, when they're doing custom artwork, where they're doing lots of editing and voiceovers, it can legitimately take hundreds of hours just to actually make one proper video. And then what does a reaction channel do? Well, they come over here, they watch one video of it, they watch it basically in its entirety, maybe pausing it occasionally and calling it good. Yeah, the issue is that's not really them adding anything notable to the video, but they still get to utilize all of that work the other person did with basically maybe 2 hours of work on their end just reacting to it. Or in a lot of cases, you can see that a lot of these videos are less than an hour long. So they've effectively done very little effort on their part. So not only are they reacting to it live on Twitch, filling out their roster and accruing subscriptions during that time, then they upload it to YouTube, where they then earn hundreds of thousands of views off it, with essentially contributing zero to the original work. And just to give you an idea of how much that can be in terms of theft sometimes, let's take a look at Asmongold's channel here, where he's accrued 96 million views in the past 30 days alone. Now, if we just say that half of those are from the Amber Heard trial, in which there is no copyright infringement to be had because it's a public trial, let's just grant him, okay, he only has half of that. So let's take a gander of how much money that could effectively be here. So let's just say 96 million views divided by half, just to account for all the Amber Heard trial. So we get about 48 million views here. Now, in general, how you actually calculate someone's money they make from a video, first it has to be monetized, and then secondly, what's the actual money per 1,000 views here. So in the instance, it can usually get around $2 to $4 per 1,000 views on YouTube here. If we account for the occasional copyright claim and demonetization, we'll round that down to about 2. So let's divide this by 1,000 to get how many instances, and then times that by $2. So in the past 30 days alone, Asmongold has potentially earned a minimum of like $96,000. $96,000. This is not accounting for any subscriptions he made on the website while reacting to this content, and this could actually easily go upwards if his reaction content is earning a higher CPM and is not, being effectively monetized at half the rate. So potentially Asmongold here is earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a month from this. Even at the absolute lowest estimates here from Social Blade, he's earning $24,000 a month reacting. And it's probably going to be the same thing for XQC, and it's probably going to be the same thing for Soda Papa too, although to a much lesser extent, because Asmongold is pretty much the most major offender in this regard. Secondly, a big issue with regards to reaction content is that it effectively replaces the original content here. When you react to a video in its entirety, with very little editing and the occasional pausing, there really is no reason for your viewer or the viewer in the live channel to actually go to this video and actually click it and watch it in its entirety. They've already seen the whole video from your perspective, and then they also got on top of that your reaction and your enthusiasm while watching the video. So in that regard, what is the actual incentive for a person to go over there and actually watch the video in its entirety, watch the advertisements, click, comment, engage, subscribe? Very, 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 very little. In fact, Dark Viper AU actually pointed this out in his video, where he actually looked at some of these channels and their viewer counts of subscribers when they were actually getting featured on these reaction channels, and that for the most part, they see basically negligible increases in their subscriber count and viewers as a result of these videos, of these reaction channels, reacting to that, and then uploading that to YouTube. So it essentially replaces the already existing content that these people are providing that took them hundreds of hours to make, and it doesn't benefit them in the slightest for the most part. Now, effective advertising when it comes to a video like this would be to say, hey, here's a great video that breaks down everything entirely. Go ahead, go watch it. There's a link down below. It's a call to action. It's something to tell you to actually go ahead and engage the viewer to do. If I just sat here, watched this video in its entirety, then you have no reason to click the video anymore. You've seen it. But at that point, I'm just kind of rambling on. But there's also the kind of a nefarious aspect to this as well, where YouTube itself does a lot of things behind the scenes to recommend content to a viewer to keep them on this platform and watching as many videos as humanly possible. And if these videos of reaction channels reacting to original content are more popular and generally tend to engage the audience longer than the original video themselves, on top of them being longer, they're more than likely going to actually be recommended on top of that, especially in things when you search for a video, when you're actually a recommended video, and things like that. I mean, just take a look at something like my channel analytics here. It is vitally important for a channel like mine, especially as small as mine, to actually get recommended in search terms and in browsed features. And for me, it's about 77% of my entire views come from people just straight up searching me. But instead of searching for me and finding my original channel and my original video, they found Asmongold's, XQC's, or Soda Poppin's videos instead. Congratulations, I lose on all of that. And again, as I've said it before, DarkViper pointed out, there is no cross-pollination with these people when they react to your content in its entirety. So one thing to note was that when you're reacting to a video in its entirety here, you're pretty easily going to infringe on the copyright of the original creator. Because the original creator retains the rights to distribute, to make money off this video, and to then license it from there. But the issue is, I guarantee you, the vast majority of people here who are reacting to this do not actually have permission from the original rights holder to go ahead and completely react to it, nor have they purchased a license from the original rights holder to go ahead and restream it and re-upload it onto their YouTube page. But you can also say, well, maybe their actual commentary, criticisms, and their light pausing here and there actually does constitute something called fair use. Now, if you don't know, fair use is just a legal defense you can use to get around copyright law, in which you say, well, I actually am allowed to utilize the work because I substantially change it enough in some X, Y, or Z fashion while not taking over the market for someone else. In fact, there are 4 fair use factors that you can utilize to actually determine whether or not a video or reaction, in this case, is actually fair use. And 2 of these factors are of particular interest: the amount and substantiality of the portion taken and the effect of the use upon the potential market. So essentially, did you take as much video as you only needed? And of the video and of the portions that you have taken, does that actually constitute, a replacement to the original content? Now, for a lot of these channels, what do they do? Well, they watch a video in its entirety, pause it occasionally, add some commentary, and then go on from there. But the issue is, they show the whole video still in its entirety, regardless if they have commentary or not to add to it, and they don't chop it out when they re-upload it to YouTube. There's a reason why some of these videos can be in excess of an hour long, just straight up wholesale reacting to other people's videos. So in that regard, they use way more than they actually needed to properly react to this, especially when they had very little commentary to add in a lot of these instances. In fact, I remember watching a Soda Poppin video a while ago where legitimately he said maybe about 2 minutes worth of commentary in about a 30-minute video. And I was like, this is just straight up re-uploading. But everyone just kind of excused it because it's like, well, I actually think his sitting there and occasionally laughing at it constitutes fair. No, that isn't fair use. And giggling or smiling along with a video does not constitute you substantially transforming it in any sort of way or adding your unique spin to it. Especially if you're going to be uploading it to YouTube out of all things too. And then we kind of touched upon this previously too. Along with Dark Viper AU's video, we actually talked about the effects of reacting to videos. And that because these videos, these reaction videos, pretty much utilize the entire video, it does eventually replace the old videos. I mean, there's no reason to go back to a previous video if you've seen basically the entirety of it already. If a 50-minute Asmongold video contains all 20 minutes of the previous video, congratulations, you've effectively seen the original video in its entirety, so there's no point to go ahead and see it. Say, for example, you are a viewer watching Asmongold, and he just sat there and watched a hour-long video by X, Y, or Z content creator. What's the chances of you going to exit his channel, to go find this video, and then to watch it again? It's essentially going to be 0. Some of you may be more inclined to like the video, subscribe to it, and watch other videos later on down the line. But as Dark Viper AU pointed out, the actual effect of increasing views, subscribers, and engagement on these videos is actually incredibly minimal. Especially on YouTube, where engagement and watch time on a video is crucial to actually determine whether or not your video gets recommended in search term or browse features. Is very, very, very important. I mean, take for example, my channel alone. I only have 2,000 subscribers, so I'm heavily reliant on being recommended in search terms and other things. And in my instance alone, I am 77% of my total viewer base comes from being searchable. But instead, if Asmongold, XQC, or Sodapoppin's videos get slightly elevated in that search terms, they eventually poach viewers away from me or from other content creators, because they're more than certainly not watching my content, because it's all hyper niche about crossout. So in that regards alone, completely 2 factors alone, they're completely likely not to actually be allowed in at all. So in this regard, if this came to court, I wouldn't be surprised if all of these reaction channels would be fined for easily breaking copyright on a crap ton of videos. I mean, if there ever became a class action lawsuit against Asmongold, XQC, or Sodapoppin, I wouldn't be surprised if the damages weren't in the millions. Especially considering that someone like Asmongold, who has made over 96 million views in the past month alone, easily, potentially exceeding millions over the course of a couple of years. Especially considering that I think there's also Twitch leaks that show that Asmongold, XQC, and the others made hundreds of thousands, if not millions, off just sub revenue alone. Sub revenue that was also accrued during the time they were reacting to contents. So effectively, they're double dipping in a lot of sense. So not only is it legally dubious, in fact, probably illegal, they've made a lot of money off it, and there doesn't seem to be any slowing down of this whatsoever. But again, that's just kind of my 2 cents about this whole thing. How do you guys feel about reaction channels? In fact, I've actually talked to a couple of you before in YouTube comments of these videos on Asmongold's, XQC's, and Sodapoppin's, and a lot of you seem incredibly supportive of these streamers just straight up reacting to it. Why is that the case? Is really them giggling and occasionally offering the occasional commentary really that impactful? And do they really have to utilize the entirety of someone else's content that they have spent hundreds of hours reacting to really necessary? These people are millionaires. They can easily afford to pay an editor to actually edit this thing down and to cut out the unnecessary bits. This is low effort content coming from a guy who makes even lower effort content. But at least then I actually edit a video and don't sit here and steal other people's work and call it my own. But that's just kind of my little 2 cents here. What do you guys think? Let your comments down below, and also go ahead and put Dark Viper AU's video in the description, because he's an actual person here who inspired a lot of this, because he actually has a very well-researched and well-made video actually detailing a lot of his thoughts, and especially in a more coherent manner than mine. So go ahead, take a look at his video, go ahead and subscribe to him, but more than fair, you're probably more likely to be subscribed to him than you are to me. But either way, guys, I want to thank you all again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.